Welcome to Board Games Are Life. Today we are taking a look at our top 10 favorite board games of all time. I am Matt Sellers.
Davin Addison.
Brandon Helby.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started with our number 10 game. So my number 10 game is a game where one player takes on the role of Jack the Ripper and must kill 5 women before he is discovered by the players playing the investigators, and that game is Letters from Whitechapel. I think this game's a lot of fun. I like this game a lot because it plays up to 5 people, but it's just as good with 2 people because one person can take on the role of all the investigators, and it is just a really, really solid game. If you haven't played it, make sure you check it out. Yeah, then you say yours.
Alright. My number 10 is it's a really simple game. It's called Good Cop, Bad Cop. It's kind of just it's like a little simple party game, and it's really easy to learn. I like simple games. So.
Davin's probably the lightest gamer out of all of us, I'd say. He's relatively likes light games, but Good Cop, Bad Cop is a lot of fun. It's a relatively new game. It came out in 2013 or 14, and there's actually a Kickstarter running right now, I think, for the expansion coming out. It's a really solid game.
My number 10 is Lords of Waterdeep. It's a good introduction to worker placement games. Good way to get into that D&D lore and just have a good time. It's shorter than games like Agricola.
Absolutely, yeah. As far as worker placement games go, you don't get much simpler than Lords of Waterdeep. That was the first one I played, and that's when I fell in love with them. My only issue I have with Lords of Waterdeep is that it is a Dungeons and Dragons game, and so if I have my letter friends and I'm like, "You guys want to play Lords of Waterdeep?" I'm like, "Why would I want Waterdeep? It's the name of the city. It's not the it's deep waters. No, it's the name of the city." So yeah, really solid.
It's
relatively
pretty good game.
Yeah, really good game.
Alright, so my number 9 game is another really simple game, and that's Survive. So basically with Survive, it's an island. You're on an island, and everybody's trying to get their little survivors to a different island via boats. And each survivor is worth a different number of points, and I mean that's basically the whole game. It's just another super simple game.
And at the end of the game, there's a volcano that goes off, and if you don't have your people off the island by that time, everything dies.
And they'll get eaten by a shark.
Yeah, there's sharks, there's whales. A lot of expansions out too. You can play. It's a 2 to 4 player game, but there's expansion go to 5 to 6 players. There's the giant squid expansion. Yeah, it's a really good game. Another pretty light game.
Another really light game. It's fun to.
There's a lot of fun.
It's fun to get sharks and the sea monsters. Together.
Don't play it if you have people that take games too serious, because you'll get pretty angry playing this game.
Yeah. It's just someone's going to wind up screwing somebody else over.
Yeah. That's the funnest part of the game. It's awesome. It works really well with us too, because that's our favorite part of the game is attacking everybody else. Yeah, very cool. Survive, great game.
Let's see. My number 9 game is probably Resistance, just because of the intrigue and deduction aspect of it. Trying to figure out who is the resistance in the group of, and who's the traitors in the group of people in the game. A lot of people just try to vote on their leaders. They'll try to decide if who's going to go on a mission, and you've got to approve the mission, and hopefully it's going to either pass or fail depending on who's gone.
So I've never actually played Resistance, but this is a game with no player elimination. Is that right?
No player.
No, so that's definitely positive for a deduction game, because.
Yeah, because at some point, it's random who's the traitor in the beginning. Everyone's dealt identity cards. And then the leader, the person who's going to pick his team, is kind of chosen at random in the group. And then hopefully your leader, if he's a good guy, is trying to pick good guys to go on his team. And you're trying to figure out who's the traitor based on who passes, who fails, and determine over the course of 4 to 6 rounds, I think it is, depending on the number of players. Yeah, and it's a pretty good one. It's a good, solid game. It usually only takes about 20 minutes.
Another positive short game.
Another short game.
Yeah, play that pretty quick. All right, so my number 9 is a game that shows up on somebody else's list, so we'll talk about it then, and that is Shadowhunters.
My number 8 game is Caverna, the Cave Farmers. It's a take on Agricola, which is a long game, but the idea behind it is you're a bunch of dwarven cave farmers who try to build up their settlement to make their cavern and as well their outside field as built as possible. You're trying to build expansions to your cavern to mine gems, to mine ore. You're trying to make sure you have enough food to sit there and feed your people every turn before winter comes. So it's very much like Agricola in a lot of ways, just a little bit more humor and fantasy in it.
Okay. Yeah, see, I haven't had the opportunity to play this one either, but I felt the box, and that is a heavy game box. It kind of gets me excited for it because I like a little more in depth to my games.
It's a good one.
This is another worker placement game,
especially if you're like you could like Agricola. If it's one of those if you really could like Agricola, but just can't seem to find
for some
people
reason
to play it. You can switch to this.
Yeah,
there's always seems to be people who are interested in that.
Very cool. All right, so number 8. My number 8 is a game where you take on the role of a pirate or a merchant, and this is Merchants and Marauders. I love this game a lot. It is a very involved game where you're playing this game and you are engulfed in that theme of pirate. Have you played this one, Brandon?
I don't think I have.
You haven't? Yeah. So you take on everyone gets a different character. There's like a deck of pirate cards you get, and each of those pirates has different stats that will either push you towards merchanting or towards marauding. If you're marauding, you're going around and you're breaking boats and you're plundering and you're stealing stuff from people. And if you're the merchant, you're just kind of going around buying goods and selling them at different ports depending on what's in demand at that point. You're going to get more money for that. But this is a very involved game. This is one I kind of shy away from with him because he likes the lighter games. But this one, I like this game a lot. My number 8 is Merchants and Marauders.
My number 8 is a game called Shadows over Camelot, and I really like this game. This is probably one of the it's a little more in depth than I usually like, but I really enjoy this game just because of I like games where you get to accuse people and you get to.
It's one of the first parts of the game. Traitor! Traitor!
Yeah. So like the premise of the game, like everybody's dealt loyalty cards and everybody's a knight in Camelot, and you're trying to like complete quests to
fight the Black Knight, get the Holy Grail. The goal of the game is to get 7 white swords. Majority of white swords.
Majority of white swords.
Yeah.
But there is, as you know, with most games, there's only one way to win the game. There are a lot of ways to lose this game. If you're under siege from the Saxons or the Picts and
you get
the
siege engines, the Picts, the Saxons.
Or at the end of the game, if there's more black swords than there are white swords.
If you failed a number of quests, which is the trader's role to try to get those quests to fail.
And the funnest part of that game is by far the trade.
Being the trader. The funnest
Being
part
the trader is so fun.
I mean, that's what makes the game is when you get to be the trader. So.
Well, and even then, if you don't happen to be on the trader's team, you trying to figure out who the trader is and work with people to accomplish the quest, usually gets you thinking and gets you focused and
this is a game it's where he says it's a little more in depth than what he usually does. That doesn't mean it's a heavy
doesn't
game.
mean it's super.
It's not a heavy game.
Because I really
on your turn you do a bad action and you do a good action. That's your whole turn.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about this game though is there's actually an expansion out called Merlin's Company, and it lets you it gives you more characters and more different white cards, and also lets there be the possibility of having 2 traders instead of just the one, which really would
because the layout of that board can be intimidating, but it's really simple to play.
Yeah, when you look at it at first though, and you see all the little minis and stuff, you're like, this is but it's really you move somewhere and you put down cards, but it is a lot of fun.
And balancing your life so you're not killing yourself. That's a good one.
Like I said, it's complicated for me, but it's not that
It would
complicated.
be fine for you. If you guys watch this video, it would be pretty simple for you.
It's fine for you guys.
Alright, so we're number 7 now?
Yeah.
Alright, so my number 7 is a fully cooperative game where you've been deserted on an island, and that is Robinson Crusoe. I like this game a lot. It is a really involved game where you really feel like you are on this island because everything you do, every event card you draw based on how you react to it is going to come up later. If you see a dog and you don't tame it right then, it's going to come back and bite you guys later. If you don't take care of the bite you get, you're going to become infected. You're going to lose some of your workers. But every turn you're on this island, you're going to place your workers out to collect resources, to investigate new terrain on this island, or to build items. You build knives and you build ropes. So you have to actually get the resources to build things that will help you, and you have to, in order to build certain resources, to build certain items, you have to have found a river or a mountain. So this game really, there's no escaping the theme from this game. The theme is really heavy, and you really feel like you are on this island. So to me, it makes a great game when you get lost in the theme, and that's what Robinson Crusoe.
They may make you want to read the book.
Yeah, I actually haven't, but I've now Spark Notes. Check that out. Is that a really quick synopsis for that?
Yeah.
All right, Davin.
All right, my number 7 is level 7, but I think one of you guys have that on your list. So we're gonna talk about that later.
My 7 is called Seven Wonders, and it is a it's a card-based game, very much in the drafting format, where you have a hand of cards that are dealt to you, and you pick one, and pass the rest, and it goes around the table, and everyone's selecting cards that will advance their plan, advance their format. And so there's multiple different ways to approach it. You can go with a military strategy, or you can go with a science strategy, or a economy strategy. And so by picking these cards and laying them down, you earn points. You keep your opponents from getting advanced in their own strategy. Sometimes you'll take a card just to screw up the person next to you.
Mm-hmm.
And the entire idea behind it is that you are gathering these cards, and you are a civilization in history, and you're trying to build your wonder. Now, it's not necessary that you actually build the wonder, but in the course of it, getting it completed will get you more points at the end of the game. It's a very simple, easy to play game. You basically pick a card, lay it down, pass the rest around.
It's like Citadel's a little bit. You played that one? It's a card game where it's kind of like that first introduced me to card drafting, so that's kind of plays similar to that for me at least.
Oh yeah, where you pass
You take the roll of the character and you pass the rest around. So yeah, it's very cool. That was our sevens.
Sevens.
My number 6 is a pretty simple deck building game called Ascension, and you're basically just trying to defeat monsters and to get honor points to win the game. And I mean, it's a really simple game. It's
really simple. You get like different buy points and different fight points. So based on, there's a pool of 6 cards in the middle that every player's going to be attacking or buying from. So on your turn, you're going to have these different points you use to buy cards to add to your deck, and you have these other fight points that you're going to use to defeat monsters that they'll add honor to you.
Yeah, I remember that one was built by some Magic players, big name Magic players for a while back, and they built that. It was a pretty good game.
Yeah, it's pretty
enjoyed
solid.
it.
There's a lot of expansions for this game. There's a ton of them, and you have a lot of standalones too, which you can mix all of them together, and you'll have this monstrous pile of cards that you could play with, but it would probably be terrible. But
Yeah.
essentially, a great game. Very very simple deck that we love.
So, my number 6. My number 6 is Carcassonne. And yeah, I think you've got that on your list too.
Yeah.
So we can talk about more of that.
My number 6 is Level 7 Omega Protocol. I love this game. It was on your number 7.
Yep.
Yeah, Davin's number 7. This is a fantastic game. It's almost like a dungeon crawl game where one player is I forget the term they use, but it's like the overlord or the overseer, and they have a dashboard set up in front of them with different abilities, and the commanders, the good guys, have a team of 1 to 4 people, and each player gets to take a different character, which will give them special abilities. Like you have the heavy infantry, I forget the real names, but like the rifle guy. There's a lot of different characters, 4 different options you can pick from, and you get at the start of the game you get to buy different cards to start with. So you can start with different cards every game. Really adds a lot of replayability to this game, and based on what actions the commanders take, it will cost them adrenaline to use, and then the overlord will get the adrenaline to use for his dashboard. So if the commanders were to do nothing for a whole turn, then the overseer, the overlord, wouldn't get to do a whole lot because he goes based on the adrenaline that the commanders spend. But this is a game that feels almost like you're playing Alien, like you're in the movie playing. You're traveling through these, trying to accomplish these different quests, these different goals, and there's a whole quest book that gives you. You should just do them in order because then it kind of levels up as you go. Where the first one you're going to be fighting against 2 different kinds of aliens, and the last one you're fighting all of them, and you're trying to go through and shut these circuit boards down.
It's just different scenarios.
Yeah, it's a lot of different scenarios, different ways to set the board up. They come with the reversible pieces of cardboard you set up, and tells you how to set the board, tells you where to place the special item tokens, and it is a lot of fun. Level 7 of Mega Protocol.
Number 5 at this point is a game known as Werewolf, and normally it'd be higher up on the list, but this game is just so much fun at the expense of requiring more people.
You need a lot of people to play this game.
That's
That's the only issue. I haven't even gotten to play it in a while because you need
you
you need a lot of people. It plays up to
at least
75 people.
I think it's probably best at above 7 or 8,
Mm.
and then that's mostly to get the different roles out there. But anytime I go to a convention, a board game convention, or any others, I usually find the Werewolf group.
People are always they're always playing it.
20
Always
plus people in some cases, and it could. You'll stay up till 3, 4 a.m. playing this game, trying to just pass around those roles and determine who is the werewolf, who are the bad guys, and who are the good guys. And watch
It's so simple.
Oh,
Even
yeah.
he likes this one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's really simple. It's
It's a good game and one worth picking up.
a really good deduction game. A lot of fun. Very cool. And that's number 5.
Number 5.
My number 5 is a worker placement game called Manhattan Project, but this shows up on somebody else's list later, so we'll talk about it then. Sorry.
For my number 5, I got Shadow Hunters, and we talked about that in our last video. We did a little
A
review,
little review shout out.
of Shadow Hunters, but it's a really good party game. We've already talked about it quite a bit, but I find it's better the more people you have. And
It's a 4 to 8 player game, but 6 to 8 players is optimal.
Yep.
Everybody gets dealt a different character card.
Yep.
And
Or do your
it's
shadow.
different every game. Shadows trying to eliminate hunters, hunters eliminating shadows.
Yep.
And you're collecting different items, you're getting axes and chainsaws as you go around. It is a lot of fun
Yeah,
to play.
it's a really good
A
game.
lot of replayability in that
It's
game.
a really good game.
So my number 4 is another game that will show up on somebody's list in a little bit, and that is Cosmic Encounter.
There you go. All right. My number 4 was Carcassonne, which what number was that on your list?
Well, that was probably number 6 on mine.
Number 6 on yours. Carcassonne. I love this game.
It is a really simple
I
game.
love Carcassonne. It's so simple. It's one of the simplest games you can play. It's really easy to learn. It's a lot of fun.
If you don't have the expansions, essentially what you're picking up a tile and you're placing it down, you're scoring points based on cities, roads, and farms. And that is the whole
That's
game.
the whole
You're
game,
building
yeah.
cities and you're building roads, and
Then the expansions
the,
just
the expansions
add more to it.
Yeah.
and there's like a dragon one where you go around eating people's pieces. There's like a sheep one. There's a lot of expansions for that, but that is a really solid game.
Yeah, this is one of those games where I don't know. It's,
We'll play
it's,
this
a,
game
it's a
on-
go-to game.
We
for
play
us.
this game at least
Once a week.
we play it probably once every other day, if we're being honest. Like,
I
I think we played it about 8 days in a row right now.
I love Carcassonne.
Because it takes, when we play it's 10 minutes, because it's just, you flip a tile, you put it down. You put it down, you flip a tile. That is it.
You teach your grandma.
It's so simple. That is the thing. Like we teach people in 2 turns they understand. Oh, okay, I know what's going on. That's it.
You can
That is
play if you're anyone, you can pretty much play that game.
Anybody can play this game.
Carcassonne, it's a good game. It's a game for people like me.
Yeah, if you really like games, make sure you check out Carcassonne.
For the simple folk.
The simple.
For the simple folk.
So I guess number 4.
Number 4.
My number 4 game is Settlers of Catan, and it's pretty much a staple. It's easy for a lot of people. There's some people that just don't like it, but
I think it's a good game. I like Settlers.
But overall, yeah, it's roll the dice, see if you get your resources, trade your wood for sheep, and score your points, build up your towns and
It's a really simple
your
game.
votes.
It's a really simple game. It's probably one of the most. It's like turning into a family game almost, where it's like the must-own family game.
It still requires a little bit of learning the rules, making sure everything happens. So it's not quite as simple as say Carcassonne.
Yeah.
But it's one you see almost anywhere. There's always people who are willing to play it. It's good. It's a solid game. As it's continued to be for years now.
Yeah, it's been out
It's a
for
great
a
game.
long time.
It's a really good game.
Yeah.
All right, that was number 4.
Number 4.
So you're up.
For my number 3, this is a game we just started playing recently, and that's Manhattan Project.
Yes.
Did you?
This was my number 5 game.
This game's great.
It's fantastic.
This
It's
game's
really good.
This game's a lot of fun. Basically, you're trying to.
It's a worker placement game.
Yeah, it's a worker placement game where you're trying to build bombs,
Mhm.
and each bomb's worth a certain number of points, and you're trying to get. If you're playing with one other person, you're trying to reach 70 points.
And it's up to it's a 2 to 5 player game, and if you're playing a 5 player game, you need 45 points. So kind of every game's going to take about the same length.
Mhm.
The only issue we do have with this game is in the later rounds, it does take a while for the turns to progress. There's a lot of downtime between turns, just because it's not like a normal worker placement where you're placing a guy, I place a guy, you place a guy, he places a guy, we all play our guys back at the same time.
Mhm.
This is a game where on your turn you can either place all your workers, or as many as you want, and then on your turn you can pull them all back. And you can place one guy to the main board, then everybody has their own board set up where they're building factories and universities and mines, and then you can place as many guys as you want there. You can send guys to other people's with the espionage track, but it's a lot of fun. It makes you forget about the downtime between turns because it is a lot of
It's
fun.
a great game.
And the artwork's fantastic, so while the downtime's happening, just look at the cards because it's really good.
It's about bombs.
Yeah,
It's
it's
about
building
bombs. Bombs are cool.
It's a lot of fun.
Bombs are cool.
It's not a relatively simple one. Like the rulebook's pretty intense, but I mean, if you watch anybody's video on how to do it, it's really simple. I watched one video on it, and then I skimmed the rulebook, and we were ready to play, and we haven't had any issues with it. So, that was your number 3?
That was my number 3.
Davin's number 3, and my number 5, the Manhattan Project.
My number 3. My number 3 is going to be Ticket to Ride. That's because wife loves it.
Yep.
Everyone
wife
plays
loves
it.
it.
They've got so many expansion packs out. I think I bought the collector's edition, the 10th anniversary.
Is that the one that comes with the bigger?
Yeah,
cars?
the bigger cars, the multiple different colors. Oh,
Yeah.
and it's been good. I've bought Ticket to Ride, Norway, China, with the expansion
Yeah,
packs,
there's
India,
a
China.
ton of them.
Oh, there's just
Nordic
so
countries.
Many. Nordic
is one of them.
countries. Yeah.
There's a lot of them.
And the reason I bought that one is because it was best suited for 3 players. Because it was difficult getting 4 to 5 people together for the base game, but that Nordic countries made it.
I've never played Ticket to Ride with someone that didn't like it. I've never taught someone Ticket to Ride and then be like, we're never playing that game. I hate that game. We've played it with people who really like games like ourselves, people who love light games like Davin, people who like the more in-depth ones like me and Brandon. You're a heavier gamer. Yeah, we like but this game is really, we play with people who don't even play board games and they pick it up right away. This game is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
Building your routes, coming in, and then counting the score at the end.
It can get very frustrating because people block your routes.
People block your routes. Yeah.
You know who I'm talking about too. If you're watching this, I know you know who I'm talking about. That they'll just take this route just because you know I want it. That's frustrating. That's funny. Yeah, it's this guy. All right. So my number 3 game is another fully cooperative game, and it is Eldritch Horror. I like this game a lot. I love this game. You are all these different explorers, and you're on a world map, and you're fighting against one of these different legendary monsters like Cthulhu and Azathoth, and a lot of different options you have. And so as you're progressing this game, you acquire new weapons and items. You can learn spells, which is my favorite thing to do. I picked I don't know his name, is this old guy though. I sit there and learn these bunch of new spells the whole game. And then by the end, I just come out and kill everything because it is a lot of fun. Every character, there's a ton of them, and they all have different stats and different special abilities. And as you play, you'll be able to level up each of your attributes based on where you go. And these monsters are coming out of these gates, and you want to go close the gates before. You have a doom track going on. Once this doom track reaches 0, then the Cthulhu or they come out and you have to kill them. Or if you're playing against Azathoth, 15 turns you don't do it in that, then the world is devoured and you lose. But this game is just a lot of fun. Another really involved one. He hates this game.
No, I hate this game.
He hates this game because it is really involved. I love this game because it is really involved. It's a 3-hour game probably.
Yeah.
1 to 6 players.
I can't do it.
It's a lot of
I
fun.
can't
Though.
do 3-hour games.
It is a lot of fun. There's one exception to that rule,
Yeah.
which we'll talk about in a bit. But this game is a lot of fun. Eldritch Horror, my number 3. And you started with that one.
My number 2 game is Small World. And this is a game where I've tried my best to make sure I got all the expansions for. It's very much a risk-like game where you have a world and you're putting down your tokens to try to conquer as many areas as possible.
Territory.
And the more territories, territory control.
Yeah, that's what that's called. Yeah.
The more areas you own, the more points you get at the end of every round. So it's very encouraging to say, I'm just going to take as many areas as I can this round, knowing for a fact that the next round you're probably just going to lose all your guys because somebody else is just going to come in and kind of stomp on your guys one after another. And there's just a variety of races and a variety of powers. So you pick a race, and then you pick a power. A power is usually joined with it, and it can be random. That's what makes the game so much fun is that it can be replayed multiple times. But
the monsters are going to have different powers every time based on the ability they're getting. Because you have two different piles you draw from, and I think the powers one's bigger than the monster one, so it's going to be different every time. Even if you never shuffle them, it's going to be different.
And they've had so many expansions, and that's probably the most difficult aspect of it is trying to make sure you know what each power and race combo or race can do.
It's laid out in the rules. There's the pictures, symbols in the rules, so it's really simple to play. But when he says it's like Risk, it is like Risk in that sense, where you're player territory control. But it's like you've ever seen it's kind of cartoony looking, where you have hill giants and you have these giant rats and you have what
flying like giant rats, homunculi.
Yep. It's a very fantasy themed, very light Risk game. A lot of fun.
But then combining different powers, you get flying hill giants.
Yep.
And that just allows them to attack anywhere on the board.
Exactly.
And it's whoever gets the most points at the end of 7.
And your points are hidden. Your points as you get points, they're hidden, and so nobody actually knows who's winning when you go. But
and it's unenjoyable experience. It goes by fairly quick too.
It does. No, it definitely does. Especially once everyone knows what's going on, you're just placing these guys down or pulling it back, and that's kind of what you do. That was your number 2.
Yeah.
My number 2 game is Descent: Journeys in the Dark, 2nd edition. I love this game. I think this is a fantastic game. This is another game like Level 7 where one player is the Overlord and the rest of the players are taking on the role of these heroes. And the reason I love this game so much is the fantasy theme. I love fantasy theme. I love being lost in my themes, and I love the elves and the dwarves. And what makes this game so cool to me is every time you play, you pick up where you left off at. You're going through this campaign. There's a map on the back of the quest guide. And as you travel through, you set up the board differently based on where you are, and you gain these spells based on how you whoever wins, like let's say the Overlord wins, he's gonna get something extra, he's gonna get experience points he can spend however he wants. And the heroes, if they win, they're gonna get experience points and possibly there's an item deck you can shop from after you complete a quest, and it is a lot. And it has the miniatures. I love miniatures. I think that having miniatures in a game opposed to cardboard makes a huge difference for me. Just getting that visual of it, and Descent is a game that is just fantastic. It feels like a video game almost, because every time you play, it's like you just save, you write everything down, and then next time you play, you set it back up, and it is a lot of fun. Descent: Journeys in the Dark, 2nd edition.
My number 2 is somebody's number 1 on their list, so we'll go ahead and just talk about it later.
All right. My number 1 board game of all time, and Davin's number 2 game, is a game that is actually out of print, and I'm really sorry about that, having it by number 1. It is HeroScape. This is a really heavily themed fantasy game. It is actually a relatively light game.
It's super simple.
It's very simple it's similar to a miniatures game, but you set up this board of this pile of terrain, and you have water and lava and castles and trees and rocks, and there's shadow spaces, and every player's going to make an army, have an army of different pieces. You're going to have squad figures who have like 3 or 4 pieces in a group, and you can move all of them at the same time. You have these other big monstrous dragons and trolls and giants, and then you have, like the Airborne Elite, which are these little army guys. And it's really cool to me because it lets you take all these different groups of things and add them all into the same game. You have army figures, you have knights, you have dragons, you have trolls, you have these future-looking snipers. Like there's just everything you could want. There's cowboys, Dead-Eye Dan, Davin's favorite piece. There's every character has a little different stat sheet with an attack and a defense and their range, their life, move, and the game plays really simply. It's really simple to teach to people. You move every piece in your range, you can attack them, you roll these dice, they roll their defensive dice, they take the difference.
Yep.
And it plays really
like a tabletop.
It's basically like a miniatures game.
It's a miniatures game, yeah.
It's basically a miniatures game, but you have hexes instead of a ruler, which is really cool to me. And you with the terrain, you actually have a castle set up instead of just a picture of a castle.
Yeah.
When we were playing Mage Knights back when I was growing up, I loved that game because it was a miniature similar to this, but with this game you have you actually have the castle.
Mhm.
You have the miniatures, which is a really cool thing.
It's
So-
such a shame that went out of business too, because there was
Yeah.
a lot of it. People
And-
love the terrain just for the terrain.
Exactly. The reason this game's so hard to find is because you have people, I don't know who, but certain people will buy up all the terrain because we like having a lot of HeroScape. We like having the terrain. We like being able to build this entire table and overflowing with castles and water and just mountains that are 30 spaces high. HeroScape is cool. It's a lot of fun.
It's a great.
It's a really fun game. And the possibilities of your armies are endless. You can combine all these different sort of like ages of
Yeah, just from all time periods.
it's
Like,
really cool.
miniatures from all
Revolutionary
time
War figures, and it's just HeroScape, my number one game. Yeah, fantastic.
periods. All right, my number one, and this one was close between this one and HeroScape, but because I love HeroScape, but my number one's Cosmic Encounter.
That was my number 4 game.
Yeah, that was Matt's number 4. Cosmic Encounter. The reason I love it so much is just my biggest reason is all the possible characters that you can pick and all the different varieties of characters.
The main box comes with this stack of character cards.
Yeah, I don't know how many.
Yeah, I don't even know.
There's probably like
It's a-
50,
and
60
each
characters.
expansion, which there's there's a lot of those. Each of those comes with 20 to 30 new characters.
Yeah.
There's a ton of characters.
And I mean, each like the game, you're trying to get. Everybody has a certain amount of planets, and you're trying to get your ships onto their planets. So the characters, they come in and they're a lot of fun because each one gives you a different way to do that, a different way to reach that end goal.
A different special ability.
Yeah, different special ability to.
They're all so different from each other.
Yeah, they're just also unique. All the characters are super.
Yeah, we have a
fun.
poster
Yeah,
actually here, so obviously
we
we
got
like this
Cosmic
game.
Encounter right here.
The Cosmic one, yeah, it's basically just a negotiation game though. Which,
Yeah.
wow, we love player interaction, both of us.
Yeah.
Matter-
And the thing I commonly hear about Cosmic Encounters is every race is so unbalanced and unfair that
Yeah.
it just balances out.
Yeah.
Everyone is so overpowered. You have guys that if they lose, they actually win, and then you have the other ones just cancel that out. Like there's one guy whose power is his ships never get sent to the warp. Which when you lose a fight, your pieces go to the warp. His pieces never go to the warp. And there's another piece that when he kills pieces, when he beats them in a fight, he sends them out of the game to the void. So the other guy, his power's canceled because his ships they're getting sent out of the game, not to the warp. So
Yeah.
Cosmic Encounter, they're a lot of fun.
Great game.
Negotiation. And it's really cool too because you can't really team up on anybody. If you're playing 5 players, we can't say, "Oh, we're going to team up against you," because you can't have multiple people win at the same time. But at the start of your turn, you draw from the Destiny deck that tells you who you have to attack. You don't get to pick.
Yep.
So I could draw his color, and I have to attack him. Even if we like, oh yeah.
And then there's a character that gets to choose who other people
One
are
character,
attacking.
one character will get to. The dictator gets to choose who everybody's going to attack. So yeah, it's a Cosmic Encounter. A lot of fun.
It's a fun
Really
game.
good game.
All right, so my number one game is at this point Betrayal at House on a Hill. It is a very story-based game where the story is going to be different every time, but you're building this mansion piece by piece as you explore it, so it's always going to be different. Sometimes the first level floors will be the basement tiles the next time, or the second floor tiles another time. But as you explore this mansion, you unlock different events that take place, such as like you coming upon a married couple of ghosts and trying to see if it drives you insane. And the key point about Betrayal at House on the Hill is that at some point in the game, the haunt will start. And when the haunt starts, someone at the table is going to be the traitor. But there's no way to really know until it happens. So either the person with the highest sanity, or the person with the highest knowledge, or just the person who happened to pick up an item at some point during the game. And it's entirely depends on which room you encountered at what time during the game. And it is always a hit. Everyone wants to play it, and everyone just seems to enjoy the game.
A lot of replayability too, because it's so different every time. Yeah. All right, so that is our top 10 games of all time. Actually, it was probably about 20, 25, 24 games, but yeah. So thanks for watching. We are Board Games Our Life. Check out our Twitter at BoardGameLife1. Check out our other videos. We're gonna post some links on here. Be sure to check those out. If you like our videos, subscribe. Click the like button. It helps us out. Be sure to comment. Let us know what you like, what you don't like. I'm sure you'll do that anyway. But again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Cool. Killed it.